Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Your Spiritual Journey. This is Dr. Bob, and this is the space and the place where we talk about things important to your soul. And speaking of the place, you may notice a different background than we usually have. That's because our studio has moved, and this is our very first episode at the new Studio Me space in Pittsburgh. Today's guest is pretty fascinating, and I think you're really not only going to enjoy what she has to say, but this marvelous, marvelous book that she has written. I can't recommend it highly enough. Natalie Glebova is a best-selling author, inner beauty coach, and a former Miss Universe from 2005. She spent many years in the often judgmental and materialistic entertainment industry. She began to seek out the true meaning of beauty and success, which she quickly realized couldn't be achieved through physical appearance and superficial gains. Through her own transformational spiritual journey to attain self-love and deeper self-awareness, Natalie started a coaching practice that focuses on a holistic approach to personal development to help her clients become winners in both life and love. As a single working mother, Natalie is no stranger to challenging life transitions. That is why her mission is to help people create exceptional relationships in all areas of life by building one's own solid temple of love within first. Her compassionate teaching style, enhanced by her extensive experience in neurolinguistics methods and healing modalities of the East, gives her the unique ability to combine ancient spiritual practices with modern-day understanding of the intricate workings of the mind. And we're going to have to get into those neurolinguistic methods as we go along. This is her latest book, as you see on display here, if you're watching on YouTube, Temple of Love, A Pilgrimage to the Heart. And she takes women readers on a spiritual and mystical journey like none other. And by the way, you don't have to be a woman to appreciate this book, because I got to tell you, it's one of the most fascinating books I've ever read in the spiritual realm. Written as a self-identified empath at heart, Temple of Love is a powerful parable that takes readers on an exhilarating quest that enables them to look inwards and rediscover their faith in unseen powers. And I would love to go on and on about Natalie, but you don't want to hear from me, you want to hear from her. So, Natalie, I'm going to turn the mic over to you. And as always, we'll first ask you to reveal your spiritual journey from childhood until now, and then we'll get into your book.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Dr. Bob. It's an honor to be on your podcast, an honor to be speaking to you. And thank you for giving me that space to discuss all things spiritual and all things love.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to it.
So my spiritual journey, let's see. I wrote a little bit in the author's note in Temple of Love about my curiosity and my always being excited about trying different altered states of consciousness. And since I was a kid, I think I was always intrigued by what is consciousness? Who am I? Why am I here? Why did they choose me to be here? I didn't know who it was, but I would just get awestruck and overwhelmed by this sensation of, I don't really understand who I am, but I always wanted to find out. And so as kids do, we were Maybe somebody heard it from an adult sibling or something like that, but somebody came up with this idea of trying to lose our consciousness. And we would do these things in secret from our parents where we would sit down, like crouch down, start breathing really heavily, then stand up, look up, and then eventually pass out. And the friends would be holding us around. I don't know if other kids did that, but we thought it was fascinating because we would go into the void, or some of us would see these different visions or colors or patterns or things like that. And so I always found it fascinating to explore the different styles and types and states of consciousness.
Can I
And not
ask
only
you,
in,
I want to
yeah,
interrupt a sec. Can I ask you what country you were living in when you were doing that?
I was living in Russia at the time. Well, it was Soviet Union actually, because at that time it was still before the breakup of the Soviet Union. So
Uh-huh.
it was an interesting time to live there. Definitely not as safe or abundant as as I feel now, but yeah, it was a very interesting time. And so we experimented with this. And then as I grew older and I found out about yoga and I started practicing yoga, I actually realized what we were doing is we were raising our Kundalini energy up. Which is essentially it's Bastrika breathing and I think something called Agni, like getting that fire going in
Uh-huh.
the belly by breathing and then raising that energy all the way up to the third eye. So it's interesting how even as a kid I was interested in all this kind of stuff. So years later, I thought back to it and I thought it was cool. But living in Thailand and being in Asia for the past 20 years, I've been exposed to Buddhist philosophies, obviously living in places and going to retreats, meditations, all kinds of festivals where we're all exposed to new age techniques as well as ancient techniques. And I've been really fascinated with Vedic philosophies as well. And on the island of Kopangan, where I'm sure you've heard about it, where there's a lot of conscious community gatherings and people who are into this new age healing, but also they bring back the ancient philosophies and ancient techniques of healing as well from India and from Thailand. So I've been exposed to a lot of these modalities for the past 20 years. I've been very curious about it, learning as much as I can, and developing my own unique style of healing in a way. I wouldn't call myself a healer, but I definitely love to work with energy, working with the mindset, because it's all very much connected, body, mindset, and energy. And so it's been an
Yeah.
exciting journey.
So do you have a daily routine that you use as your spiritual practice?
I would say yoga is definitely my go-to method. As you know, I'm sure you know that yoga is not just about practicing the asanas, the poses. There's 8 limbs of yoga, including pranayama, breath work, including mindfulness, including the way that we live and the way that we choose to think. And so yoga is a way of life. And for me, yoga acts sort of like a tune-up. If you think of your body as an instrument, and if the instrument is out of tune, it's not going to play very well, it's not going to sound healthy. And in the same way, our body can be looked at as an instrument where you tune up with the breath work, with the poses, with the mindfulness aspect. And when you tune up all of your chakras and all of the energetical field around you, it just feels better. It feels healthier. It feels more aligned. And whatever you feel on the inside is, of course, going to be reflected on the outside.
Yeah.
So it all just works really well when I practice yoga regularly. That's the key word. It has to be regular.
Yeah, I know. I do qigong every morning just for my tune up each day.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, there are a couple things that I was curious about. One is you've written 2 other books besides this one, uh, and I should mention the names of those, or maybe you should. So,
Oh, I will do
what are the names of your two other books?
Well, when I first gave up my title as Miss Universe and I came to live in Thailand, I felt like I had to write a book right away just
Oh,
to
okay.
commemorate the experience. But also, everyone was always asking me, how do I stay in shape? How do I stay beautiful? All the things that they would ask Miss Universe. And so I wanted to write down some of my tips and tools on how to stay healthy, happy, beautiful. And that was the name of the book. And it involved, of course, as well, mindset and awareness and exercise and diet and all of these things. And then in my 30s, then I wrote another book called I Am Winning, A Guide to Personal Empowerment, because I went through my kind of like motivation, Tony Robbins phase of my
Yeah.
life where I really loved to motivate myself and motivate other people. And although that book touched on a bit of spirituality, I felt that I wasn't in my spiritual era yet. And
Yeah.
so that book talks about the 7 qualities of winners that can be cultivated and practiced and adopted in order to feel like you're winning every single day of your life, even if some days don't feel like that, but it's all about cumulative effect. The more days
Yeah.
you can put in the bag, the more you feel like a winner. So that was a book about that.
Okay. So that was what, in about 2019.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so here it is, 2025, and this new book has just appeared on the scene, but it is not only, I'm sure, so different from your first two books, but I have to tell you, it's different from any book I've ever read. And I'm very curious about how you made the determination to approach these subjects in the way that you did, in terms of creating a narrator and
Mm.
taking that narrator through a number of spiritual experiences. But you not only take your character through a number of spiritual experiences, but you allow us as the reader to experience along with the character, what you're going through. And because of your process, uh, it is such a marvelous way to explain these different spiritual practices. And so, one, kudos for coming up with this process, but how in the world did you decide to do that? Did you read another book that you saw, that was a template for what you wanted to do?
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for saying that. I was definitely inspired by some of the spiritual books that I started reading even when I was a teenager. I think my first one was called The Celestine Prophecy, if you
Mm,
recall that book, which was a story. It was a beautiful fictional story that took the reader on an adventure. And then I read other books, such as The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, um, The Pilgrimage by Paulo Coelho as well, and The Alchemist, and all these books that were parables or allegories about searching for something on the outside of themselves and then finding that thing on the inside, right?
yeah,
So it's kind of
yeah,
like a personal development self-help book, because you can find a lot of these books in the self-help section, but they
right.
read like a novel. And I just find that it's a lot more interesting to read. Of course, it's a page turner. And I also feel like books like this help you retain the information more, because when you play a movie in your head, a story develops and you visualize that story, it definitely stays with you longer and definitely kind of almost goes into the subconscious mind easier. because it's rich in symbolism and metaphor and allegory. So I thought at first I wasn't going to write a book like that at all. I thought I was going to write a regular self-help book, like a manual guide on how to find self-love and um, how to really build a relationship with yourself, and then through that you can build amazing relationships with others. And somehow along the way, I don't know what happened. I just started putting together my outline, and then all of these visions came to me. I started to dream, and in my dream, I saw a monk sitting in a temple with a man and a woman on each side. And I realized that was about the masculine, feminine energy. And then he was sitting in this pyramid in a temple. And somehow I thought, oh, there's a story there. There's a story about going on a pilgrimage. There's a story on going to Peru, looking for a famous legendary temple in the jungles of Mexico. And then I thought, oh, I love all those books before. Why don't I write something like that? So here just all happened like that.
Okay. That's,
Mm.
you never know where inspiration is going to come from. Are you in the habit of recording your dreams? Is that something you do on a regular basis?
You know, if they're really symbolic and if they feel somehow meaningful, I will wake up and I will force myself to jot it down, because no matter how much I promise myself that I'll remember it after I fall asleep again, I never do. So if it feels really symbolic and really profound, I will force myself to write a couple of notes down. And it's funny because once you open your mind up to being creative and to letting that creativity flow through you, it just comes like a flood, and it's all over your dreams, it's all over your daily thoughts. And then this creativity can come at the most unexpected times in the most unexpected places. So you have to be ready when it strikes, because you have to have a pen and paper or journal, or at least, I sometimes I write notes on my phone or even record some notes to myself. But yeah, you need to be ready when that inspiration comes. Otherwise, you'll forget it and it'll
Right,
just pass you by.
right.
Do you agree?
I I journal every morning. Uh, there's a book on the bookcase back here, "The Artist's Way." I don't know if you've heard of that book.
Wow. Love, love, love that book. Love the author.
Okay. Uh,
Have you seen the show?
I no, I haven't, but I took a group through The Artist's Way
Mm.
because it's it's a lot more effective if you do it in a group. Describes as sacred circles, and because you share your experiences as you are journaling, and uh, all of what you go through in terms of, I don't know, getting rid of writer's block and that sort of thing.
Mm.
Uh, anyway,
Morning
so
pages, right? The morning
morning
pages.
pages. I've been doing
Yeah.
morning pages for 2 years now, I guess.
Mm, yeah.
Pretty much. I've mainly missed. I might have missed 3 mornings in those couple years, uh, and they really helped me clarify my mind and get through the day. So yeah, I've always
Good for
recommended The
you.
Artist's Way to to people
Yes.
who are writing. Uh, let me take you back to your childhood for a minute. Uh, okay, so we got the impression that you were playing with breath work back in your early days in Russia, but then you moved to Canada. So how did that happen, and why did it happen?
Well, my parents always knew they wanted to leave Russia because at that time there was no certain future for us over there. And they knew that they wanted a better life for me, and they didn't feel safe. And the economy was really not great. And just being there, my mom was horrified thinking that how would I grow up there? And so they've tried every which way to leave the country, applying to um, different countries as immigrants or refugees. And we got accepted as immigrants in Canada. So at 13 years old, we made the big move. And I found myself having to adapt to a completely new world, new culture. I didn't speak the language actually, so English is not my first language. And it took us, a while, and especially, to really settle in and get our grounding, because it's tough as immigrants, right? You have to start from scratch. You don't have any
Yeah.
references for jobs. You don't have much experience in the Canadian workforce. So my parents really, I gotta give it to them. They're my biggest heroes for coming through and becoming successful in the new world. And for me at 13, it was very tough as well because I didn't feel like I belonged. I felt like an outsider. I had a lot of self-esteem issues surrounding my background and my immigrant status. I was a bit of a loner in high school. So it was tough. It was tough until I really learned to reframe my story in the mind that I had from being an immigrant to being a Bond girl, you know? Yeah, that's what I told myself, and it worked.
Yeah. That's an interesting reference, a Bond girl.
Well, you could either look at yourself as a Russian immigrant, and what most people knew at the time was, oh, you're a communist, or oh, you drink vodka. But one person who told me, oh, I love Bond girls, the Russian intelligence agents. They're, sexy and they're mysterious, beautiful, smart, right? And so I was like, I could be that.
Yeah.
I'll just be a Bond girl. So I reframed that self-image and the
Uh-huh.
narrative that I had in my mind. And I think that that's what really is responsible for my very quick, almost like an overnight shift from being a really
Yeah.
shy, self-conscious woman who had self-esteem and confidence issues to all of a sudden deciding that I'm going to go for Miss Universe, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Uh, and there's been a lot of research. I'm a big fan of Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton, and
Mm,
that group that
yes,
that really
yes,
focuses on change your mind, change your life, and how just
absolutely.
changing your perspective on things can
Yeah.
have not only a mental and emotional effect, but also a physical effect because you
Mm,
can actually change your genes. And
True. That's what Dr. Bruce Lipton is always talking about. We have
right.
the capacity to influence our genes.
Yeah.
And so,
And once you come to that understanding, but it sounds like you innately had that understanding, even if you weren't quite sure exactly the effect that would have on you, you went for it and
yeah.
changed your whole life. And
Yeah,
and at
it
age
has.
13, that's pretty amazing. So,
Well, the shift happened around age 18. So between 13 and
okay.
18, I had that period of time where I didn't know who I was and I really gave in to the negative thinking. And at 18.
Uh,
And also it was actually a guy who helped me change this mindset. He ended up being my boyfriend later, but he
uh-huh.
was the one who told me that he loves Bond girls and Bond movies, right?
Yeah.
007 movies. So that's why he saw me in a different way. And I thought, well, if somebody can see me in a different way, why can't I?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a much
Okay.
better way to go.
So the language barrier, how did you get through that? Uh, did you take specific courses in the English language? Because
Yeah.
obviously your classes in high school were taught in English, right?
Hmm. Well, that's the beautiful thing is that at 13, the mind is still neuroplasticity and everything is
Yeah.
quite easy to pick up a lot of things. And because I was immersed in a completely English speaking environment, it really didn't take me that long to pick up the language. Although the accent, I don't know if you can hear it, but it still stayed with me. I still have a little bit of that Eastern European, right?
Well, like you
Accent.
said, that's a very sexy accent. So hang on to
Oh,
it.
thank you. I own it now. I embrace it now. Back then, I was
I'm
really shy
sure.
about it, but now I'm
Yeah.
like, nope, that's who I am.
Right. Why try to be anybody else? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. We all have so many unique things that make us beautiful and interesting. If we were like everyone else, it'd just be a boring world to live in.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift gears now and well, before we get back to your book, you're also an entrepreneur. So what led you to start your first business? And I know you've had more than one. So uh, what
I've
brought all
dabbled.
that about?
I've dabbled in a few things here and there. I think, again, as a kid, when I was asked, what do I want to be when I grow up? I kind of had this idea of being a businesswoman, and I didn't really know what that meant. I just carried around a little briefcase with papers, and I would come to my desk and put the papers out and look all busy and important. And yeah, as I said, I didn't really know what that meant, but I have a very free, loving spirit. I'm somebody who cannot really hold down a job, like a corporate job, where I have a boss and they tell me what to do, because unless I'm passionate about something or I'm curious or interested in a subject, I just can't do the work. It
Yeah.
just immediately kills my spirit and then I wither. Yeah, I can't. So I knew from a very young age that it had to be something of my own. I knew that I was going to be someone who creates something or does something that is going to be my own project, because that's the only way that I could get motivated. I couldn't get motivated by
Yeah.
money or by status or by anyone telling me that I had to show up and sit at a desk. So I've tried a couple of different things. I had my own perfume line. I had a blog. So, they were all kind of like a couple of things that were more merchandise, a couple of things that were more creative. And then right around COVID time, I really started to get into spiritual work for myself. And then I decided that I wanted to coach and I wanted to pass on what I learned. And although I was very much known in the pageant industry, so obviously a lot of my clients who were coming to me were pageant contestants
Oh,
wanting to learn how to win the crown and how to be recognized as a beautiful woman and as a title holder. I blended my passion for spirituality with that title that I already had. So actually, my programs are very much about how to find the authentic self and how to go inside of your core essence in order to find your voice, your message, your true self-expression, that inner beauty that shines through. Because whether you're a pageant contestant or somebody who is working in the entertainment industry or anything else where you want to be a public figure, I think the best thing that you can do is align that beautiful persona that you can create with your true authentic self and
uh,
then blend the two together to become this beautiful, yeah, beautiful public figure, a brand
yeah.
that touches other people's lives, right?
Right.
And connects heart to heart to heart. So my business right now really revolves around coaching and creating content and online courses for people who want to journey to themselves, to take that journey to self. And then from there on, they can become winners, they can become successful, they can find the love of their life, whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah. So all this time and doing all these things recently, uh, you are a single mother at this point. How do you blend all this? uh, and how's your daughter doing?
Oh, thank you for asking. She's doing really well, growing so fast. And I, I mean, I never in a million years thought that I would find myself in a situation where I am a single mom. I don't think any of us ever set out. Well, most of us never set out on a journey to
Right.
motherhood thinking that they would be raising a child alone. And it's not an easy task, as you can imagine. And hats off. I think I wear that title of single mother as a badge of honor, and hats off to anybody who's doing the single parenting thing, especially when they're working. But it is rewarding in so many ways. And it's something I always look at any challenge in my life as an opportunity to rise above it, become stronger, and pass on that wisdom and that knowledge and everything that I've learned to other people. Because if we don't learn from our mistakes and our failures and then what's the point of them all, right? They're there to teach us, and they're there to help us spread that information so that other people don't have to maybe go through the same difficulties. Uh, and so it's an honor, really. And I've adapted this incredible mantra for my life over the past couple of years, that whenever something difficult happens, I always say, this is happening. This is not happening to me, it's happening for me.
Right.
So it helps a lot when you,
Right.
again, it's about reframing, right?
Uh-huh.
You can take any situation and say, oh, poor me, why did this happen? Or, oh, this is happening for me because I'm growing, I'm evolving. It's giving me an opportunity to give back. And yeah, it's really an amazing switch.
Right. Yeah. The question I always bring up is, okay, there's a lesson here somewhere. What's the lesson I'm supposed to learn now?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I want to talk, or have you talk, uh, a lot about some of the content in this book, just because it is so comprehensive and there are so many different concepts. Uh, and one of those concepts was actually in your introduction, uh, when you say that you have extensive experience in neurolinguistics methods and healing modalities of the East. So,
Mm.
what are neurolinguistic methods that,
Mm.
and how does that fit into your life?
Well, as we've been talking already about that, reprogramming that narrative, right? That's a very important point for me. Rewriting the story. What does your subconscious mind believe yourself to be? Are you a hero of the story, or are you a victim? Are you the underdog? Are you the martyr? Or are you the one that breaks through all the challenges and ends up coming out on top, right? So it's all about rewriting that narrative. Even sometimes you could take a piece of paper and actually write your story from the beginning. I was born here under these circumstances, to this family. This is what my upbringing was like. And then creating that narrative where, like when you're watching a movie and you're watching the hero's journey, somebody who is the
Yeah.
underdog, who is we're rooting for in that story. So you can become that hero who you begin to root for, and know that in order for you to get to the top, you have to go through the bottom first. And isn't that the most exciting part? Because if somebody starts at the top, there's not much of a story. Nobody wants to
Right.
listen to them. We actually want to see somebody who's been through the hardship to rise up. We're all rooting for them. So I think for yourself, you can definitely recreate that narrative in your mind, write that story on a piece of paper, and then keep rereading it to yourself. Other things that I'm really fond of is working with the brainwave states, like theta brainwave state, particularly, where affirmations and reprogramming of your subconscious mind through affirmations has been an incredibly effective technique. And of course, that's not the only way to do that, but that's one of the ways that you could, let's say, write your new affirmations in a present state, stating the words I am, followed by what you believe yourself to be, what you believe your ideal version of yourself to be, what you already have, what you already do. So I like to write my affirmations in the format of I am, I do, and I have. And then creating again that narrative, recording it in your own voice and listening to it as you're falling asleep or as the first thing when you wake up in the morning, while your brain is still in that sleepy theta brainwave state, right before you wake up and start the day, or right after you finished your day and you're falling asleep. Because then again, it goes into your subconscious mind. And the other thing that I really love, and I talk about a lot in the Temple of Love, is the use of symbols. And these symbols can be anything from repeating number sequences or angel numbers that you notice around you, right? Or animal totems, or any symbol that could represent something powerful for you. Any symbol that represents growth, luck, health, abundance, prosperity, um, yeah, anything positive that you wish for yourself, you can create a symbol for that just by saying, oh, I really like the symbol of the white dove, or the symbol of the lotus flower, or an owl. It can really be anything, or a
Yeah.
gemstone. Anything that you really want to, using those symbols again with your visualization or vision boards or actual objects, putting them on a shelf around you in your home, and then knowing that these symbols, believing that these symbols are actually giving you that protection and that abundance and that prosperity and luck.
Yeah.
And the funny thing that happens with these symbols is that, again, our minds are so, so powerful that whatever we believe becomes our reality. And that's why people hold symbols of their favorite deity, or a cross, or a statue of Jesus or Buddha or Ganesh or what have you, an icon of uh, Mother Mary, for example, believing that this deity is protecting them, is giving them the strength, having faith. And again, it's not the actual object, it's not the actual deity that maybe does that. It's the power of your own belief and the power of your own mind. So I truly, truly believe in this. And that's why I surround my home by beautiful objects and deities from different cultures. I like to collect them
Yeah.
because they mean so much to different people, right? And I get very curious about different religions as well. So I think they're all beautiful symbols. So why not have them in my house? They can only serve
Yeah.
me, and they reflect my own divinity within myself. So I truly believe in their power.
Uh, and that's something that I'd like to get to, which is the divinity within,
Mm.
and certainly something I strongly believe in. But I wonder, in your own life, when that realization came to you.
Mm. I don't know if there was any one particular moment where that realization struck me. I think it was just a culmination of everything that I've learned and read and practiced in the meditation retreats, in the spiritual workshops. And I think really just reading some of those books like Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, where I really understood that it's, we are that drop of water that comes from the ocean that is also its own drop of water, but it belongs to the whole ocean. So it's still the same water, right? So
Yeah.
when that's my analogy for God, for that, whatever you want to call it, that divine essence, is that we are just those drops that are coming from that giant ocean. And we still carry the same structure, the same essence, the same element as the great unknown, the divine itself. And I think it just, as I said, it was a slow realization of that. It was a slow awareness of that. And it all came from reading books that are derived from a lot of Eastern philosophies, like Vedic philosophies, um, which I really resonate with a lot.
Yeah. Well, speaking of water, in your book, you talk about a water ritual and what, as you're talking about mantras, doing a shower mantra.
Mm,
Uh, and I love that chapter, and I've experimented with that because it's kind of
okay.
fun. So
Yeah.
would you talk about that a little bit and where that concept came from?
Hmm. I hope that you've written some of your own words for the shower mantra, because I think it's really important that it comes from you. Because again, it's your intention, your mind, and your words that are going to make it as powerful as it can be. So the story behind the shower mantra actually starts from my mother. And my mom, she is not very religious, but she comes from a background of Russian Christian Orthodox religion. Somehow, somewhere, she got this prayer for every time when she was showering me, when she was washing me as a child, since I was born, she would say this prayer as she was showering me. And as I was getting older, she taught me this prayer and she said, please say it every time that you shower, because she believed in its healing power of protection, right? She believed
Uh-huh.
that it really protected me and kept me safe. So I promised her, like a good daughter, I said, of course, I'm going to do it. And I learned this prayer by heart. And for up to, I think it was up until my 40th year, I kept saying this prayer, but the wording was a little bit kind of like didn't resonate with me and my newfound beliefs in spirituality. And so because the words were kind of a little bit disempowering. The words were, if I can kind of like loosely translate it, is that I give my power away to God to protect me, instead of saying that
Uh-huh.
I am the one who intends to, step into that power. And so, as I was learning a lot of these neurolinguistic programming techniques and understanding a lot about the power of our mind, I thought to myself, why am I following a prayer that was written, I don't even know by who, I don't even know when? I mean, perhaps it has some truth to it, but with everything that I knew about the mind, I thought I'm going to
Yeah.
write my own. And
Uh-huh.
so, again, with that structure of I am, I do, I have, I decided to write a very empowering short prayer that basically says that I intend to be a certain way, like I intend to be healthy and energetic and grateful and present and mindful. And then also saying that I have faith that I'll be safe, protected, loved, healthy, and abundant. And I really wanted to start the prayer by saying that everything that does not need to be here gets washed away. All the judgments, all the preconceptions about myself and others get washed away. And the only thing that remains as the water cleanses me is love.
Yeah.
So this is what I came up with, and I memorized it, and I've been saying it ever since. I feel like it's, again, my intentionality and the words that are spoken create a really beautiful magic aura. And
Yeah.
it really does create magic. It means I can say that I feel pretty good using this mantra. Still here, still healthy.
Well, I just love that concept. Uh, and I've also taken to saying one as I'm falling asleep. Uh, that kind of
Beautiful.
programs my subconscious to work some things out while I'm sleeping. Because you
Yeah,
might as
well,
well
that's
have
how
your
it works.
subconscious work for you, right? Well, why waste that time that you're
Absolutely.
sleeping? Uh, so,
Absolutely.
so I always ask the cells in my body to restore themselves and renew
Beautiful.
themselves and regenerate, because your body is constantly regenerating and you're constantly becoming someone new every day as
Yes,
as
so
cells
true.
die and new cells are replacing them. So anyway,
And
that's
with your intentionality, that actually you're sending those messages to your cells to renew, become healthier, stronger. And so this is really beautiful. I encourage everybody to write their own prayers. Do you
yeah.
have yours as a memorized prayer, or do you just speak to yourself freestyle?
Well, that I have memorized. It took me a
Okay.
while,
Yeah.
but that I did memorize. And the power of prayer uh, is something that I guess some people do it automatically because they learned it as a child.
Yeah.
But when you examine the real power and the energy of that, and to understand how energy flows from you to the universe and to others and how we're all connected. I recently was reminded of that when I had an Akashic record reading. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
ever participated in one of those.
I've never had it read to me, but yes, I've heard
Yeah.
of.
I've been familiar with the Akashic records, I don't know, since I was a teenager, because my
Mm,
stepmother introduced me to Edgar Casey. But it was uh, really interesting because I was able to ask questions and then get responses from the Akashic records through the person doing this reading for me. Uh, and actually, that episode's going to be on a couple weeks from now. But the interesting thing was when I reviewed some of my spiritual practices and asked the Akashic records which ones were most important and which ones were most effective, what should I hold on to, what should I maybe discard, because my life was getting so full of all these things. And I'm sure you've experienced that as as you go through this, you have to say, okay, what do I have time for and what do I make a priority in terms
mm,
of, all these spiritual practices. Uh, and one of the things that they focused on was keep up with the prayers,
mm.
because they have the most effect of everything that you're doing, and
I believe that.
they are critical. Uh, and so I do, and it's really with renewed enthusiasm that I do that, having that affirmation, I guess, from another source uh,
Mm.
that I believe in. letting me know that, yes, that's important, and they do have a definite positive effect on the people you're praying for and the situations you're praying for. So,
Thank you so much for that reminder. It's really important, again, to hear it time and time again that this is something that we need to keep up. And in the way that we pray, not because we're told to pray, not because we're forced to pray, not because we've been conditioned and scared into the fact that if we don't pray, we're going to go to hell or something like that, but
yeah.
praying from gratitude, from faith,
Oh, yeah.
from unconditional love towards yourself and towards others. If you can find prayer from that and have that intention, it makes all the difference, I believe.
So I am curious about plant medicine, have been for a while. Uh, and some of the people I know who have gone the ayahuasca route uh, have taken it to the point of becoming shaman,
Mm.
or at least they almost don't want to be labeled a shaman. They say they practice shamanism, or they're shamanistic practitioners. So
Mm.
in going through your book and having the marvelous experience of you taking us through an ayahuasca experience, and that was, I got to tell you, that was amazing. I mean, uh, I think people should buy the book just for that that experience because it was great. And you do take us through a cacao ceremony also. Uh, and in taking a group to on a retreat to Bali this coming year in June, uh, a cacao ceremony can be part of that experience. People can opt into that or opt out of it. But anyway, I'm curious about your ayahuasca experience.
Mm.
I mean, you have a setting in South America for that, and actually, the people I know who have done that have gone to Peru to experience that.
Mhm.
Uh, anyway, I'm going to stop talking and ask you about that experience and how that came about. And what was it in your mind that said, "Oh, I've got to do this"?
I know. I'm still asking myself, how did I ever get the courage to do it? So, my experience with plant medicines, again, because of my curiosity with altered states of consciousness, happened kind of organically because I found out about plant medicines in general, ayahuasca and different other plants like San Pedro, of course, the psilocybin mushrooms through friends. And I heard their stories, and then I was just fascinated by the fact that you can go into this entire different world and almost like into another dimension and see things that are and experience things that our physical senses just cannot. So I became really, really curious about it. I read all the books, I watched all the YouTube videos that I could find, research. I did my research, I knew what I was getting into, and that's, I think, really important for everyone. Although one thing that I would say is that before you do it, don't have too many expectations, because I did. And I had so many expectations because I've seen and read so much that it almost kind of made my experience a little bit stressful
Yeah.
and maybe not as surrendered and flow as it could have been. But I still thought that I really need confirmation. I need confirmation that everything that I'm learning in my spiritual journey, everything that I read in Eckhart Tolle books about consciousness and having that whole side of you, that there's awareness behind the thoughts. I couldn't quite connect to it until I did the first ayahuasca experience. Then I realized, oh, okay, that's what it is. I kind of saw my ego, I saw my shadow, I saw the pain body. I saw everything that was not me. And I was able to separate myself and understand that the consciousness behind everything that's observing everything is who I really am. And it was not until plant medicines came into my life that I started to understand it. So in a way, I feel like it's not for everyone, and it's not the only way to connect
Yeah.
to yourself or the only spiritual path. Of course, it's not. And many people choose different paths. And I think they're all valid if they work for you. And for me, plant medicines really have just almost like set a benchmark for understanding what unconditional love is, how to live with unconditional love, how to be my most authentic self, how to relate to others, how to relate to nature, right? Because nature and us, we are this one and the same. And so once I understood all of that, that's when my spiritual journey accelerated even
Yeah.
faster because I understood what I was shooting for when I was
Uh,
meditating, when I was practicing mindfulness, and all of those things that I was learning about. It just helped me to deepen my understanding. And
yeah.
yeah, so that's what really got me interested in it.
Well, thank you for taking us through that in the book because that was terrific. I have had a ketamine experience, and it really did a lot for me. Okay, we are just about out of time, and at the end of
Oh,
each podcast, I always ask the guests to leave our audience with a few words of wisdom. Your book is just full of them, and I can't recommend it enough, audience. But just with this particular audience, this is your one and only chance that you have to leave them with whatever words you'd like to leave them with. So, all yours.
I've already mentioned my mantra that has helped me through the darkest times. That was, this is happening for me, this is not happening to me. And one of the things that I also, one of the quotes that I put in the book that starts the book off is a quote by Haruki Murakami, who said, when you walk into a storm, you're not going to be the same person that walks out. And that's exactly what the storm is about. So you need to understand and you need to embrace and you need to be grateful and feeling almost blessed for all the storms of our lives. Because if it wasn't for those storms, we wouldn't be who we are. We wouldn't be able to do the things that we do. We wouldn't have the resilience that we have. And we wouldn't be able to, most importantly, share it with others. And it's only through those challenges that we as humanity can grow and learn and become better. So be blessed, be grateful, learn from every single challenging moment and rejoice in it. Find
Yeah.
that beauty in it. That's my final message.
Okay. Uh, I'm going to have links if people wish to contact you for coaching or any other services you provide. Those links will be on my website. But uh, right now, what's the best way for anyone to get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me on my website. I suppose that would be the easiest way because you can actually book a call with me if you are a contestant in a pageant or if you are looking to discover your inner beauty and inner powerhouse. Definitely go ahead and book a call with me on natalieglebova.com. But I am also easily found on social media, like Instagram, particularly. You can just type in my name and
Yeah.
say hello in the comments, send me a DM. Perhaps I won't always find DMs. They don't always get delivered to me, but yeah, you can get in touch with me and on social
Okay.
media for sure.
Well, audience, as always, take what resonates from you, from what you've heard, incorporate it into your life, put the rest on a shelf until you're ready to deal with it. And until next time, this has been your spiritual journey.